On a particular day, a young high school boy remembered a tragic moment as he was about to be hit by a large truck while trying to retrieve a cat from the street. Suddenly, he found himself in the body of a young woman with long, light blue hair named Lady Elena, who had just fallen to the ground, leaving her and a nearby girl shocked. The scene shifts to the dazzling Royal Academy, where in one of its resplendent corridors, Elena recalls slipping on a banana peel. It was in that moment of falling that she remembered her entire past life as a typical high school boy from Japan. He believed his life was cut short by a traffic accident, and now he is living as Elena Evan, the daughter of a duke, after that recent slip. Her friends rushed to her side to ask if she was alright, to which she replied that she was fine, though she was internally processing the sudden influx of memories. She realized she was no longer the high school boy but was now Elena Evan, living the life of a duke's daughter. As she sat on the floor, she wondered why a banana peel was in such a gorgeously decorated hallway. A flicker of memory surfaced, reminding her of an otome game her little sister loved to play. In that game, if an enemy character slipped on a banana peel, they had to miss a class, which explained why banana peels were scattered around her sister's room. With a jolt, she looked at her reflection, recognizing her face, her uniform, and the name Elena, confirming she was now a character in that very game. She understood that she was in the world of the love simulation otome game, Princess Knight, where the heroine captures the hearts of handsome love interests. To her dismay, she had been reincarnated not as a background character but as the heroine's rival, the villainous Elena. She lamented her fate, wishing she could have been a simple side character who could also pursue the handsome boys. Instead, she was the villainess, a character destined for a bad ending like condemnation, death, or exile after harassing the heroine. Having only seen glimpses of her sister playing the game, she was stumped about what to do next. Just then, the heroine of the game, a cute blonde girl named Tiara, approached and asked if Lady Elena was alright after skipping a class. Elena was struck by Tiara's cuteness and realized her future now depended entirely on this woman's love story. A new plan formed in Elena's mind. To avoid her doom, she needed to create a love story between two girls. Though she knew there wasn't a Yuri route in the original game where the villainess and heroine could end up happy together, she decided that if one didn't exist, she would create one herself. Her only path to survival was to develop a deep, loving bond with Tiara. Mustering all her courage, which felt incredibly embarrassing due to her past identity as a high school boy, she awkwardly asked Tiara if she would like to have lunch with her. Tiara happily accepted, and Elena celebrated her small victory, having successfully initiated the Yuri route. Later, the two girls were sitting on a bench, enjoying their meal together. Elena felt a sense of relief, thinking that for now, they were just two girls sharing food. She was determined to become a character very close to Tiara, leaving her villainous past behind to secure a happy ending. Tiara then offered Elena a piece of her homemade Tamagotchi, playfully asking her to say, "Ah." The gesture was too much for Elena's heart, and she got a sudden, intense nosebleed. Tiara, very concerned, noted that a noble's palate might not suit such simple food. As Elena tried to calm herself down, reminding herself it was just simple intimacy between girls, Tiara leaned in closer, worried that the injury from her fall was still affecting her, causing Elena's mind to explode with the thought that they were practically going out. The excitement was too overwhelming, and Elena fainted in Tiara's arms, leading to a commotion as Tiara called for help. Sometime later, Elena woke up and apologized, blaming it on being in the sun for too long. Tiara expressed her relief that it was nothing serious and remarked on how delicate Lady Elena was, which made Elena's heart flutter, thinking about how kind Tiara was to worry about the villainess. Just as she was basking in the moment, a handsome, long-haired young man appeared, stating he had been looking for them, leaving Elena shocked by the appearance of a new character. The newly arrived handsome man is Lancelot Rain, a prominent capture target from the otome game, who also happens to be the student council president and Elena's fiancé. Elena recalls that in his route's ending, she was condemned to a life sentence for attempting to frame Tiara for a crime. Faced with this intimidating figure, Elena and Tiara greet him cautiously, trying not to cause any trouble. Lancelot greets Elena formally by kissing her hand, a gesture she finds both annoying and captivating, reminding her of her past life as a boy who found him incredibly handsome. The gesture nearly causes Elena to instinctively punch him in the face, but she restrains herself, realizing it's just a simple greeting in this world. She then introduces Tiara as her friend, a move she immediately regrets. Tiara politely introduces herself as a first-year student, and Lancelot acknowledges that he has heard rumors about her passing the magic test with flying colors. As Elena watches them interact, she realizes with horror that by inviting Tiara to lunch, she has thoughtlessly created the perfect opportunity for the game's heroine and a main capture target to meet, noting how good they look together. Lancelot hands Elena a list of candidates for the student council, and she is surprised by his unchanging expression even in front of the very cute Tiara, wondering if he is simply used to being around beautiful women. She realizes that they are still at the beginning of the story, so he likely has no affection points for Tiara yet, but if this opportunity allows them to bond, she, as his fiancée, will become nothing more than a nuisance. Looking at the list of candidates, Elena sees Tiara's name, which means the first event of the game is about to unfold. She remembers that upon joining the student council, Tiara begins to develop relationships with the capture targets, putting Elena at high risk of facing her doom-filled ending. For the sake of her own safety and her precious Yuri route, she decides she will stop this from happening over her dead body. To prevent Tiara from joining the council, Elena devises a reverse matchmaker plan to show that Tiara is unfit for the position. However, she finds it difficult to find any faults in the cute and diligent Tiara. She knows Tiara is a very bright girl who always prepares for her classes and even works part-time to help her parents, leaving her with little free time for other activities. Elena attempts to argue that Tiara shouldn't take on the pressure of the student council because she already has so much on her plate, having lost her parents at a young age and moving between foster families. But instead of dissuading him, Elena's speech becomes a passionate appeal about how incredibly hardworking Tiara is, despite all the misfortunes she has faced. As a result, Elena ends up painting Tiara in the best possible light, which greatly impresses Lancelot. He tells Elena he didn't expect her to praise the girl so much and will keep her strong recommendation in mind when selecting the new council members, leaving Elena in despair over her complete failure. Tiara, having overheard the conversation, tearfully asks if that's how Elena truly thinks of her, as she had worried that a noble like Elena was only associating with a commoner like her out of pity. Elena tries to explain that she wants to be friends for a different reason, but she becomes too flustered to confess her true feelings. Before Elena can speak, Tiara smiles brightly and expresses that she, too, treasures Lady Elena very much. In her heart, Elena is ecstatic, feeling as though they have just become an official couple, even though she knows it's not truly love just yet. This moment makes Elena incredibly happy, and she feels that she has gotten much closer to Tiara, putting her on the fast track to achieving her Yuri route. However, her plan to keep Tiara out of the student council has backfired completely, and she later watches as Lancelot formally introduces Tiara as a new member. Lancelot even tells Elena that he was influenced by her passionate speech and suggested Tiara for the role himself, which only adds to her frustration. Just then, two more handsome students, Galahad and Percival, approach and introduce themselves to Tiara, immediately showing interest in the rumored freshman. Elena watches in horror as this pack of hyenas begins to swarm her beloved Tiara. She realizes that while she has only seen the ending for Lancelot's route, every other capture target's route will surely lead to her own destruction. Determined to achieve her happy Yuri ending, she decides she must do something to fight off these hot guys in a battle without honor or humanity. Waking up on her first morning as the villainess, Elena stretched in her luxurious bed, a slight confusion on her face as she grabbed her chest, still adjusting to the new and terrifying reality of her reincarnation. She sat up, reminding herself that she was now a girl, just as her cat-eared maid, Myling, entered the room with a polite morning greeting. While Myling skillfully took care of Elena's preparations for the day, Elena thought that it would be quicker to do it herself, but she had no idea how to manage such long and intricate hair. After Myling finished styling her hair with a beautiful rose accessory, Elena gave her a bright, genuine smile and a word of thanks. Myling seemed taken aback and flustered by the simple gratitude, later looking troubled as she insisted it was merely her duty, which made Elena realize just how selfish and demanding the original Elena must have been. This new life was a stark contrast to her previous one as an ordinary high school boy, now trapped in the world of the Otome game, Princess Knight, as its main villainess. Later that day, while sitting on a bench with Tiara, Elena reaffirmed her goal to avoid a doomed fate by forging a Yuri route with the game's heroine. Tiara kindly offered her a homemade lunch, including adorable octopus-shaped sausages, a gesture so cute that it caused Elena's nose to bleed once again. As she accepted the food, she struggled to understand the normal level of closeness between female friends, finding the entire situation both wonderful and confusing. To gauge their relationship, Elena asked Tiara how she was settling into the student council, and Tiara replied that everyone was very kind to her. When Elena pressed further, asking who she got along with the best, Tiara's answer sent a jolt of both joy and sorrow through Elena's heart. Tiara confessed that besides the upperclassmen, the person she felt closest to was Lady Elena herself, who always helped her when she was struggling. While any man would be thrilled to hear such words, Elena knew her situation was different and that the original Elena treated all other girls with harshness, not just the heroine. This led her to question if their relationship was truly special or just a misunderstanding, confirming in her mind that they were not, in fact, going out. She then recalled that another first-year student was supposed to be on the council but hadn't appeared yet. Just as she dismissed the thought of another potential rival, Lancelot appeared with two other male students, greeting the two girls. Panicked by the arrival of more capture targets, Elena quickly made an excuse to get tea. The two new boys, an intellectual type with glasses and a cheerful airhead type, were slightly late and were gently chided by the intellectual one for their tardiness, while Lancelot tried to discuss some documents with Elena. Lancelot leaned in extremely close to point out something on the papers Elena was holding, causing her to freeze in shock at the invasion of her personal space. Internally, she was fuming, calling him a sleazy snake for being so forward even with his own villainous fiancée, and decided she couldn't let a man like that near the innocent Tiara. She curtly told him to simply mark the paper instead of getting so close, but her protest was met with confusion. She mentally screamed that his actions were a form of harassment, but quickly realized that in this world, handsome and popular capture targets could get away with behavior that would be unacceptable from anyone else. Annoyed by this power of a popular guy, she sat down and wondered if she could also be popular by acting so forward. Looking at her own beautiful reflection, she realized she was also very attractive and that such tactics should surely work on Tiara, especially if she was aiming for a Yuri route. Seeing her chance when Tiara was struggling with some paperwork, Elena decided it was now or never. She moved close to Tiara, leaning over her shoulder in the same way Lancelot had done, and offered to help. The sudden proximity made Tiara blush and become incredibly flustered. Elena calmly pointed to an example on the document, and Tiara could only stammer out a flustered agreement. The intense embarrassment of her own bold move was almost too much for Elena to handle, and she covered her blushing face in her hands. Meanwhile, the other council members noticed a change in Elena's attitude, while Tiara simply thought about how wonderful Elena smelled, and Lancelot watched on, looking thoroughly impressed by the villainess's unexpected actions. The Royal Academia, a prestigious institution for future queen candidates and their advisors, also happens to be a world of fantasy where magic lessons are part of the curriculum. In one such lesson, the students are tasked with a simulation of encountering and eliminating an apparition. As the other girls look on in awe, Lady Elena confidently steps forward, her hands glowing with magical energy as she prepares to face the shadowy creature. With a powerful and elegant display of her abilities, Elena unleashes a barrage of rose-themed magic, completely obliterating the apparition in a single, explosive strike. The other students are amazed by her strength, cheering for her as she finishes the battle with such ease. Elena, a bit embarrassed by the praise, knows that her incredible power is due to the special education for gifted children she received to prepare her for becoming a queen. She understands that her excellent grades, beauty, and noble pedigree make her the perfect rival for the game's protagonist. Later, while walking through the school grounds, Elena and some other girls come across a group of boys playing a game without permission. The other girls see them as a nuisance and consider notifying a teacher, but Elena recognizes the game instantly. It's shamanic Siegball, a magical version of baseball where players hit a mana-infused ball and compete for points. The scene fills her with nostalgia for her past life, where she often played baseball with her friends in empty fields. One of the boys notices Elena staring and recognizes her as a member of the student council, becoming defensive and confrontational. He complains that they were banned from the magic training grounds and had no choice but to play there. Elena remembers that before regaining her memories, the original Elena had indeed been responsible for this ban, forbidding the brutes from using the grounds for their games. Instead of scolding them, however, Elena surprises everyone by asking if she can join their game. The boys are suspicious, questioning her motives and wondering if a noble lady can even swing a bat. To prove she's serious, Elena accepts their challenge. If she can hit a ball thrown by their leader, they will regain the right to use the training grounds. With a confident smile, Elena agrees to the terms, declaring that she will be the pitcher. She infuses a ball with her mana, just as she did with the apparition, ready to show them her skills. Her past life's love for baseball combined with her current body's excellent athletic ability gives her all the confidence she needs. As she takes her stance on the makeshift pitcher's mound, The batter readies himself, and Elena prepares to throw. With a powerful wind-up, she unleashes the pitch, a blazing inside corner low ball that rockets toward the batter. The ball, glowing with intense magical energy, is too fast and powerful for him to handle. It smashes into him with explosive force, sending him and his teammates flying. The sheer power of her pitch leaves everyone speechless, with Elena herself looking slightly surprised at the result. She stands on the field, surrounded by the defeated boys, a cheat-like figure of overwhelming strength. Her incredible feat earns her the admiration of the other female students, who were constantly disturbed by the boys' magic ball games. They praise her for finally disciplining the problem children, though Elena insists that she simply wanted to play with them. Just then, Tiara arrives, having been looking for Elena, and is shocked to see the scene of destruction. Elena casually asks her to use her healing magic to patch up the boys, which Tiara does with a worried expression. The defeated leader of the boys vows that he won't lose next time and demands a rematch, which Elena confidently accepts, ready to play anytime. As she watches Tiara heal him, she suddenly remembers that one of the captured targets was a hot-blooded character. With a jolt of realization, she understands that the boy is not just a mob character but one of the main love interests, which explains the handsome guy vibes she got from him. Tiara, noticing Elena's reaction, asks if she knows the boy, but Elena dismisses it, glad that Tiara doesn't seem to recognize him as an individual yet. She decides to let the matter go for now, maintaining her cool and mysterious demeanor as she walks away with Tiara, leaving the defeated but determined captured target behind. To her utter disbelief, Elena, a former high school boy, found herself being cabined by another guy. The hot-blooded capture target, Gawain, had her pinned against a wall, demanding a rematch after his humiliating defeat in Siegball. The scene was quite intimidating, with other girls whispering that a hooligan was harassing Lady Elena, though Gawain insisted that wasn't his intention at all. This persistent challenging had been going on ever since their first match. Despite Elena answering his invitations to play and soundly defeating him each time, he refused to give up. After the third time, she started avoiding him, but he continued to chase her down, refusing to let her run away. Exhausted by his relentlessness, Elena wondered if he would keep this up until he finally won. Gawain even showed up at the student council room, not for any official business, but solely to find Elena Evan. Lancelot calmly greeted him, but Gawain made it clear he was only there for a match. Later, Tiara explained to Elena that Gawain Garland was the son of Count Garland and a maid, raised separately from the other children, which likely contributed to his rebellious behavior. Despite this, he was also very good at magic and studies, which was why he was recommended for the student council, though he rarely attended. Elena now understood the reason for his jaded attitude, a classic hottie with a dark past trope that she knew girls would love. She worried that Tiara might fall for him, though there didn't seem to be any connection between them yet. Her thoughts were interrupted when Gawain found her during her lunch break, once again demanding a match. The relentless pestering was incredibly annoying for Elena, and even the other students were trying to get him to back off. On her way to the council room, Percival commented on the situation and suggested that Elena should just lose on purpose to satisfy him. However, Elena knew that for someone like Gawain, whose pride and dignity were tied to his skills, a conceded victory would be meaningless. It was a hassle, but she couldn't bring herself to intentionally lose. Her thoughts were interrupted by Percival remarking that she had changed, which made her briefly question her Elena-like behavior. Her focus was then drawn to a strange scene where Gawain was yelling at Tiara for being bad at sewing, despite being a commoner, while Tiara praised him for his excellent embroidery skills. Elena was furious, realizing that he was using his challenges as an excuse to get closer to Tiara while pulling off the rough on the outside, delicate on the inside, Gap-mo appeal. Her anger flared, and her demeanor shifted back to that of the original, formidable villainess. She declared that she would make him suffer a painful experience. Lancelot, overhearing her, proposed a deal. If Elena won the next match, he would make Gawain attend every student council meeting from then on. To Lancelot's surprise, Elena wanted the exact opposite, for Gawain to stop coming entirely. The deal was struck, and Gawain, having forgotten his original goal of lifting the ban on the training grounds, eagerly accepted the challenge. Tiara, looking concerned, brought Gawain's bat to Elena, who was now set to be the batter. Galahad pointed out that it would be unfair if the positions were fixed, as Siegball pitchers needed strong magic attacks while batters needed strong magic defense, and changing roles could lead to a different outcome. Elena, remembering her baseball experience, agreed. Gawain, now the pitcher, declared that he was going to win as he threw a powerful, magic-infused pitch. Elena, holding the bat, focused her energy, determined to hit it back. With a mighty swing, she connected with the ball, but the force of the impact caused the bat to shatter into pieces. The ball was deflected into Galahad's hands, who caught it, and everyone stared in shock. The other students assumed that Gawain had won, as the broken bat suggested Elena's magic defense was insufficient. Gawain himself was stunned, celebrating that he had finally beaten the cheat lady. When Elena questioned if his magic was simply stronger, he became flustered and admitted the bat was very old. He apologized for breaking it, but Elena, with a bright smile, said they should play again sometime. Although she may have lost, Elena felt it was for the best. She walked away, examining the broken bat and noting that it felt like someone else's power had been added to it, causing it to break in such a strange way. Tiara greeted her, and Elena, remembering the deal, realized that Gawain would now be a constant presence. She teased Tiara about being lonely, to which Tiara shyly admitted she was, just a little bit. This adorable confession made Elena's heart race, and she happily agreed to spend the next afternoon with her Yuri route plans back on track, even if Gawain's pestering would continue for a while. In a moment of déjà vu, Elena found herself on the floor once again, having slipped on a banana peel just as she did when her memories first returned. Her classmates rushed to her side, but Elena was more focused on the mysterious peel, which vanished into thin air right before her eyes. She remembered that in the world of the Otome game, Princess Knight, this was a game mechanic. A peel left by the player would disappear immediately after an enemy character slipped on it, forcing them to miss a class. This led her to wonder if a player was now active in her world. The only person who could act as a player's avatar was the game's protagonist, Tiara. When Tiara approached to see if she was all right, Elena momentarily suspected her, but quickly dismissed the thought as impossible. Later, while calmly sipping her tea, she reasoned that it couldn't have been an ordinary banana peel and wondered where one would even acquire such a magical item. She recalled the fairy item shop from the game and decided to investigate. Elena soon found herself standing before a hidden door, which opened to reveal the very same fairy item shop from her memories. A cheerful elf-like creature with a large ribbon greeted her, offering a mysterious banana at a first-time buyer discount. Elena politely declined and left, now understanding how the shop worked. It appeared before anyone who thought about it and vanished after its purpose was served, meaning only a limited number of people knew of its existence. She remembered that in the game, the protagonist gains access to the shop after helping a fairy in trouble, which confirmed that the banana peel was indeed the magical banana from the game. With this new information, Elena realized she couldn't be certain it was Tiara who had placed the peel, as there were other enemy characters besides herself who could have also gained access to the shop. Her thoughts were interrupted when she was suddenly surrounded by a sea of banana peels, covering the entire floor. With no way to avoid them, she decided to slide over them, skillfully navigating the slippery obstacle course. This strange experience turned out to be a nasty dream, and Elena woke up in her bed with a new resolve. She realized that the original Elena had made many enemies, and it was quite possible that one of them had planted the peels for her to slip on. Determined to change her fate, she decided to befriend these enemy characters, believing that once they saw she had turned a new leaf, they would stop hating her. However, her resolve was immediately tested when she saw Tiara casually eating a banana during their lunch break. Elena's mind raced, trying to stay calm and convince herself it was just an ordinary banana from a supermarket. Tiara explained that she just felt like eating one that day, which seemed innocent enough, but Elena couldn't shake her suspicion. She thought back to a conversation she had overheard at Tiara's part-time job, but concluded that such a sweet girl couldn't possibly be the culprit. Later, as she and Tiara were walking back to the classroom, Tiara nonchalantly dropped her banana peel on the floor. Elena froze, her mind reeling as she watched Tiara bend down to pick it up, only to be told that garbage should go in the garbage can. The entire situation was baffling, and when Tiara explained that she just felt an inexplicable urge to put the peel there, Elena was hit with a startling realization. It seemed that Tiara, as the game's protagonist, couldn't resist the ingrained mechanics of the game system. The revelation was incredibly meta, and Elena understood that the handsome capture targets were not the only obstacles on her path to achieving her Yuri route. The game itself was working against her. A foreboding threat loomed as a bucket of water was about to be dropped on Tiara from a window above. With a sudden burst of speed, Elena pushed Tiara out of the way just in time, getting soaked herself in the process. Tiara, grateful and concerned, thanked Elena for her quick action. The scene drew the attention of other female students, who began to gossip and criticize Tiara, a mere commoner, for receiving so much favor from the student council. Just as the girls were about to accost Tiara, Elena stepped in, her authoritative presence immediately silencing them. She checked on Tiara, who was shaken but unharmed, and Elena was glad that her noble status was useful in such situations. Later, as Tiara was walking down a staircase, she tripped and began to fall, but Elena caught her in a warm embrace, teasingly calling her a klutz. Elena couldn't help but wonder if Tiara was just incredibly unlucky, a troublesome trait for a protagonist to have. Back in the student council room, Elena found a mysterious letter with a fancy wax seal on her desk. She opened it to find an invitation to meet on the east-facing rooftop, and her mind immediately jumped to the conclusion that it was a love letter. The thought was so absurd that she laughed it off, but she went to the rooftop anyway. There, she found Alicia Cervantes, a count's daughter and another one of the game's enemy characters, waiting for her. Alicia's attitude was cold and confrontational as she questioned Elena's recent change in behavior. Elena recalled having a few conversations with Alicia before regaining her memories, where they had bonded over their shared dislike for Tiara. Alicia, a genuine villainess, was furious that Elena had interfered with her plans to bring down Tiara, reminding her that Elena herself had once called Tiara an eyesore. Elena, at a loss for words, could only stand there silently as Alicia berated her. It was then that she realized with a cringe that the letter was not a love letter at all. She tried to explain her change of heart, stating that humans are complex creatures who often hope for things they know are different. Alicia then revealed that she was the one behind all of Tiara's recent misfortunes, from having her followers throw water on her and push her down the stairs to hiding her shoes, doodling in her notes, and having boys pull up her skirt. Elena, disgusted by these pathetic tactics, told Alicia to stop. She explained that she had become close with Tiara and was simply helping a struggling friend. Alicia was incredulous, unable to believe that Elena, who had once planned far more terrifying things for Tiara, had changed so drastically. Elena could certainly understand her point, as the original Elena's schemes were so gruesome they couldn't even be shown. Glad that things hadn't escalated to that point, Elena asked Alicia to stop the harassment. Alicia, however, saw this as a get her to drop her guard and then strike strategy and wondered what would become of a girl who continued down such an evil path. Elena, seeing an opportunity, suggested that Alicia talk to Tiara at least once, confident that they would become fast friends. Alicia was taken aback by this and simply asked, "Who are you?" The question caught Elena off guard, but before she could answer, Alicia declared that her Wani-sama would never say such a thing. She revealed that she had been admiring Elena from the shadows, and this new, kind Elena was not the person she looked up to. In a fit of passion, she stormed off to confront Tiara, vowing to banish her from the academy using her special technique of sucking people's blood to make them her subordinates. Elena quickly intervened, tackling Alicia to the ground to stop her from attacking Tiara. Alicia was shocked and hurt, questioning why Lady Elena had changed. Elena explained that she had mended her ways and would become Alicia's enemy if she continued to harass Tiara. With tears in her eyes, Alicia confessed that she had only acted out because Elena had told her that Tiara was an eyesore. Elena finally understood the reason for Alicia's actions and apologized, explaining that she would never be the former Elena again. From now on, she would not bother Tiara. She then offered her friendship to Alicia, on the condition that she would do the same with Tiara. Alicia was stunned, unable to believe that the Lady Elena she knew would ever say such a thing. The revelation that the kind Wani-sama she admired was gone was too much for Alicia to handle, and she broke down in tears. Elena, realizing how complicated a maiden's heart was, felt a pang of sympathy and offered to cast a healing spell on her. Alicia, through her tears, admitted that she had already suspected Elena had changed but didn't want to believe it. But then, a new thought crossed her mind. This different, kind Wani-sama was also very lovely. She decided to continue watching over her from the shadows, leaving Elena to ponder the very complicated nature of a woman's heart, lamenting that the letter was not a love letter after all, though in a way, it definitely was. As a dance party at the academy approached, Elena asked Tiara if she was planning to go. Tiara admitted that she wasn't good with gorgeous places and didn't have a dress prepared, so she wouldn't be attending. Elena, determined to create a memorable event for her Yuri route, declared that if Tiara wasn't going, then she wouldn't go either, much to Tiara's surprise. Elena insisted that she wasn't thrilled about the party anyway, but her decision was overheard by another group of girls who began to mock Tiara for being a commoner trying to get close to Lady Elena. Elena and Tiara moved on to the student council room, where they were greeted by the other members. Elena was impressed that Gawain had kept his promise and was attending the meetings, even if he still continued to challenge her to matches. Galahad patted Gawain on the head like a dog, praising him for doing his work, much to Gawain's annoyance. Lancelot then approached Elena, noting that she seemed to have changed recently, and leaned in close to tell her he found it wonderful, which only flustered her more. Galahad explained that it was just a coincidence that things had worked out this way, as Lancelot had been the one to invite Gawain to the council in the first place, but he warned her not to get the wrong idea about his unusual severity. Lancelot then brought up the dance party, noting that while all council members were supposed to attend, Tiara didn't seem to be on board. He asked Elena to try and convince her again, suggesting that she would enjoy it more with a friend. Elena was annoyed by his pompous yet caring attitude, thinking that if she didn't know he could have her convicted, they might have even become friends. Later, Elena invited Tiara to her dorm and surprised her with a beautiful, frilly dress. She had asked her maid, Myling, to find a dress that would suit Tiara, admitting that her own fashion sense wasn't the best. Tiara was overwhelmed by the gesture and felt she couldn't accept such a lavish gift. Elena, anticipating this, explained that the dress was too small for her anyway and that she would just have to get rid of it if Tiara didn't take it. She then revealed that she had been practicing the male part of the dance just so she could dance with Tiara, which finally convinced the blushing girl to accept. At the dance party, Tiara, looking stunning in her new dress, nervously wondered if Lady Elena had arrived yet. Just then, she was approached by the same girls who had mocked her earlier. They complimented her dress but sneered that a commoner like her couldn't have prepared one on her own, accusing Lady Elena of giving it to her. One of the girls then accidentally spilled a drink on Tiara's dress, telling her she had to clean it immediately or it would stain. Tiara was devastated, but before she could do anything, Elena appeared. She saw the stained dress and the crying Tiara and, without a moment's hesitation, told her that they would get changed. They left the ballroom and returned in their school uniforms. The other students were shocked to see Lady Elena in a uniform at a formal dance, but she confidently stated that as a student, her uniform was a proper formal dress. Inside, she was relieved, as her former high school boy self had no desire to wear a frilly dress anyway. She then took Tiara's hand and asked her to dance. With a happy yes, Tiara accepted, and the two of them began to dance, their school uniforms standing out amongst the lavish gowns. The sight of them together, with Elena leading like a prince, left a strong impression on everyone, especially the male capture targets. Lancelot and Percival were surprised to see Elena act so boldly to match Tiara, while Galahad was skeptical of her sudden change, believing that the ill-natured woman he knew couldn't have reformed so quickly. He watched them with a suspicious glint in his eyes, vowing to rip off her mask and show everyone what she was truly like.